To me, I think that it's partially that globalization of mixing of cultures and realizing that it's not that serious. And I think that there's also like almost like a postmodern disillusionment with it where people are realizing actually I can just say whatever I want and it really doesn't matter, like sticks and stones, I guess. But I think that largely to the demographic that is comfortable with the word cunt now, I think that it is through mediums like drag. So I'm very interested in and inspired by drag, as are, I'm sure, a lot of artists in similar spaces. And I think that drag does such an interesting subversion of gender, and interesting gender commentary, and has really embraced the word cunt with a lot of freedom.
Let's ruin our lives.
Getting pissed at high tides, chew it up like cyanide. Please don't revive. Let's ruin our lives. Some pills in acid, nails in my casket. That sounds romantic. To just ruin our lives.
それじゃあビデオ見てもらいます。ねんなよ。
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Ruin Our Lives. I'm your host, Josh Hensley, former street poet and musician. Today is a very different type of episode, very special. We are joining with Podcast-thon this year. It's the biggest charity event in podcasting, and pretty much podcasters have chosen a nonprofit charity to team up with, interview, and help get the word about out there. And so brand new to this, and I chose the Cunt Collective. And joining me today is, I believe, the founder, spokesperson of the Cunt Collective. It is Jocie Osika. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us. I was so excited that somebody picked my little nonprofit, my teeny tiny baby, out of the list of possible nonprofits to feature. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I was going through the list, it's so long of all the different charities to choose from, and I saw that name and I was like, oh, well, that's obviously going to be the one I choose. This whole punk rock thing that I do or whatever, it just made perfect sense. So thank you so much again for coming on. So
sometimes you put your cunt out there and people like it. So
yeah, for sure. So what would be the primary goal of the collective?
Yeah, so we are a craftivism nonprofit. Our main goal, our mission statement, if you will, is to create hats to build community, foster hope, and raise funds to donate to other nonprofits.
Very cool.
We have a voted upon special focus to support LGBTQ communities, with a specific focus on trans people. But we also donate funds to larger nonprofits, like the ALCU.
Oh, okay. Very cool. I love that. Very philanthropic, I believe is the word.
Yes.
So, okay. And how did you guys get started?
So, if you don't mind me asking, what state do you live in?
I'm in Arizona.
Oh, see, you're not going to understand. Have you always lived in Arizona?
No, I'm from Los Angeles originally, but I've been all throughout the country. I've been to 5 other countries. What?
Okay, so maybe we have a chance that you'll understand.
Okay.
So, I currently live in Detroit, Michigan. And as anyone who has lived in a colder place knows, there's that one day in March where the sun finally comes out.
Sure.
And all of the sudden, you get the vitamin D and the world is amazing again and you have all these big ideas. On that very day, last year, the sun hit my little face and I was like, I should start a nonprofit.
Okay, nice.
So I do blame the weather. I had recently been learning a lot about craftivism as which is just a combination of crafting and activism. Um, and it's really cool because it makes activism so much more accessible
Right.
to such a range of people. Maybe if you don't feel like you can fully speak up or you can't physically be present and contribute in the ways that you wish to. Craftivism offers a really powerful route to still be involved. And I was very charmed by that. And so I just kind of threw the idea out there to a few friends, Facebook groups, stuff like that. And people really liked it. So I ended up with a sense of responsibility to follow through with it. And I was fully delusional at the time. I thought that it was going to be like a short-term project. And here we are a year later on podcast-on and like, you know, all of that stuff. But it's a nice thing to be doing, I guess.
Sure, yeah. What was craftivism sort of like a thing during the Occupy movement? Like people were going like putting like knitted things around trees and telephone poles?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's called yarn bombing.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of really interesting, we're like yarn based. That's why I'm wearing my crochet cat sweater today. I wanted
Nice.
I wanted anyone who sees this to know I'm serious. We're mostly yarn based, so crocheting and there's a lot of really honestly funny ways that people use yarn for activism. The oldest one that I know of is there are Holocaust survivors, Jewish Holocaust survivors who take credit for making the Nazis lose the war because they had been enslaved to knit socks. Anyone who knew how to knit was being made to knit socks for the Nazi troops. And they purposely were creating the socks in a way that would give them blisters.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Which is so hilarious.
Yeah, definitely.
I love resistance that it happens on the level of amazing tomfoolery.
Definitely.
We also have yarn bombing. Like we're talking about another one that I really like is there's an organization, I think in Australia called KNAG, K-N-A-G, Knitting Nanas Against Gas.
Okay.
And they do knit-ins. So they're a bunch of little old ladies who go to, you know, like their representative's office and they just sit and they knit. And it's a really cool way to demonstrate peace.
Yeah.
I think.
I like that.
Yeah, because I mean, they're knitting. They're old ladies knitting.
Right,
And the amount of time that it takes to make the things, like even that people yarn bomb with, is incredible. To put many hours into a you know, something knit or crocheted and then put it outside where it's going to get on, it's going to get, you know, cut off of the telephone pole or whatever by the state. It's just incredible. So I love the complex statement it makes, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, I like that. It's civil disobedience combined with creativity and art, and it really makes a statement. I think that's very cool. When I shared one of your stories about how you make the hats or the beanies or whatever, and one of the followers on Instagram said like, "Oh, that puts the vagina hats to shame" or whatever is what he said. I was like, you know, I was like, well, you know, check out the collective; they're really cool. But I thought it was funny that he said that. But no, I think that's super cool, especially what you said about the Jewish people doing that, like, subtle act of subversion towards the Nazis. I think that's really rad.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, I've lived in Minnesota and Oregon, so I get the
You understand the
I do.
the day of the where you think I should start a nonprofit. The world needs me.
For sure. I mean, I started a podcast out of nowhere, so okay, so were you always into like knitting and crafting before the nonprofit?
I was before the nonprofit started. I already I was a bit of like a savant when it comes to crocheting. I have a theory that people who are good at math and
Yeah.
like spatial organization in their head are here to pick up crocheting.
Yeah.
No backing to that, absolutely none.
Sure.
But that's my personal theory.
Okay.
I was really quick with crocheting. Knitting has been a lot more difficult for me, but further back in my history, I'm actually historically an athlete. I'm like an athlete scholar. I'm a PhD candidate.
Nice.
So it wasn't really until I moved to Detroit about 6 years ago that I feel like I started building confidence in any sort of artistic endeavor.
Yeah.
And that anything that I made could matter in some sort of way.
Interesting. Okay. Well, like you were saying about like being like really good at math and that sort of translates to like knitting. Well, there's like an algorithm to it, right?
Yeah, there's definitely, it's sort of formulaic and you have to do a good amount of mental math.
Yeah.
But also, I am a very firm believer. I will go on record right now saying that whoever invented crochet and whoever invented knitting is an absolute freak. Like,
Right.
I have no idea how somebody figured out that you can do that. Like to think that theoretically this is all one piece of string.
Right.
You know, like
that is amazing. Yeah.
my mind cannot wrap around that. Literally and figuratively, I suppose. Pun intended. But, like, I think that it's hard enough to conceptualize how a piece of string turns into this.
Right.
But it's even, still really hard to, when somebody tells you exactly how to do it, to make yourself understand how to do it. So I think that you have to, I think that the same imagination that people use in math is the imagination that they use in yarn crafts.
Okay. Yeah. It's sort of like a Rubik's Cube of fabric. Yeah. Interesting. So what is...
I cannot do a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, me either. Even with the formula, I can't figure it out. So what inspired like the change of you, coming from a more athletic background, scholarly background to like knitting and crocheting and crafting? Was it because it's so cold in Detroit?
No, I'm actually from Idaho, so the climate is very similar.
Yeah.
I think that it was a lot of things. I think my sister is an artist. She's a singer. She's a singer, plays guitar, songwriter.
Yeah.
She does kind of pop country singer-songwriter stuff in Idaho. And my family is incredibly competitive. So I think that when she showed a proclivity towards that and I showed an interest in athletics, my parents were like, great, keep them separate. We don't want them against each other, whatever they're doing. So I don't think that I ever explored really with artistic endeavors. And then the turning point was in college. I threw discus and hammer in college, NCAA Division I, and I had a scholarship and everything. And it went really badly, which I had never really experienced in life before. I always thought that if you just work hard, then things would work out. But for the first time, that wasn't true. And at the same time, people on the team didn't like me. And I had never experienced that. And so I think that I became disillusioned with what sports meant to me and to the world. And I started seeking other avenues for expression.
Gotcha.
And it was in that sort of shift that I was able to understand that it doesn't matter if my art is like groundbreaking and amazing and nobody else could ever make this. What matters is that I made it,
Totally, yeah. See, there's that punk rock attitude that we love so much on Let's Ruin Our Lives. Okay, that's very interesting. Not to get too much into like the mechanics of it, but what is the process of starting a nonprofit? Are there like a lot of legal challenges, or a lot of red tape you have to go through?
Okay, so I actually have an amazing team on my nonprofit, and one of the people, her name is Jenny, and she is also a PhD candidate, and one of her areas of interest is nonprofits.
Okay.
So I basically realized, like the month after I had the sunlight delusion that I should start a nonprofit and that I knew how to do that. I realized I had no idea what I was doing and that things get very serious very fast when you start taking money from people.
Sure.
And so I was just kind of cold emailing anyone that I could find.
Okay. Yeah.
At my university saying like, hey, I have this really cool idea. You seem like someone who might be interested. This is completely, unpaid, but like I need help. So if you think that this is interesting, please help me.
Yeah.
And Jenny was my angel, my saving grace, who was like, actually, this is incredible. And I would like nothing more than to help you make this happen. And she made a list for me, both then and now, because I forget every time she tells me how to start a nonprofit. I messaged her ahead of this to ask her so that I can tell everyone, because I don't think that this information is like accessible out there. So I wanted to be able to like just list it off.
Okay. Yeah.
So people, because it's really not that hard.
Okay.
Like you can be delusional and create a nonprofit with these simple steps. Okay, so one that she wrote down is you have to have an idea. Easy. All you need is a little bit of sunlight. After that, you have to get clear on your mission and your vision. The number one thing that you need in all of the applications that you fill out is that mission statement.
Sure. Yeah.
So when I said like we make hats in order to do this, this, and this, like it's just got to be like very boiled down.
Right.
Step 3, you need a name. So deciding on the Cunt Collective was one of the very first things that we did. And the reason for that is because the next thing you have to do is look up your state's licensing board and you have to see if that name is already taken.
Right.
Unsurprisingly, the Cunt Collective was not taken in the state of Michigan. So we snapped that up. The next thing that she recommends is to get all of your social media handles before anyone else can get them.
Right.
I believe that there are like sharks out there where as soon as you register your nonprofit name, they will go and they will take the names on all of the, like emails, Instagram, Blue Sky, like anywhere that you could want to have a profile, they'll take the names or like even the website domain.
Really?
And then they'll try to get you to pay them to have the handle that you want. So she says, go and do that immediately, right? So that you can't steal. And then the first really bureaucratic step that you have to take is you identify a registered agent. So for my nonprofit, that's me. And it sounds like a very serious title, but it's mostly just that you are the communication person between your nonprofit and the state. And it's your responsibility to be overseeing the organization in relation to the state. After that, you need board members. That was where I was, cold emailing people, crying for help on social media, all of that stuff. And then the next really bureaucratic step is you have to apply to incorporate a 501c3 with the state licensing board. So that is like the official thing that makes you a state level nonprofit.
Okay.
And that was really easy. I want to say that only cost like $30 or something.
Really?
Again, it was really cheap and they got back to us really fast. But in order to do that, you have to have like your mission statement. And I think that you might have to have like bylaws drafted out, which bylaws are like a very legal thing. And we weren't able to get anybody with legal expertise on our team. So if anyone's listening to this and is like, I have legal expertise and I wish I could contribute. hit me up. But there's a lot of really nice templates online. And we just followed those and pasted in the stuff that made sense for us. And it was a lot of work, but it wasn't particularly hard.
Right.
And then after that, we have to file articles of incorporation with the state licensing board. So we're getting to the end, don't worry.
No problem.
So incorporating as a state nonprofit, a 501c3, and actually like registering as incorporated are kind of like two different steps that you don't want to.
Okay.
And then after that, you get a EIN, so an employer identification number,
Right.
because you need that in order to apply at the federal level.
Right.
Then you go and you do it all again, basically, but with the IRS. And you're already approved on the state level, and that's where it's expensive. That costs like $300 to register.
Yeah.
And then after that, you just make sure that you have tax exemption in your state, and then you are good to go, as far as I'm aware.
Okay. Nice. Very succinct. All right. So did you have to like trademark the name, or like how do you make sure that those extortionists don't take the name from you?
It's mostly a problem with getting domains on like the internet, right? Because the websites that you go through sometimes are also predatory, and they will wait for the moment that your domain expires, and then they'll buy it and try to sell it back to you. So to the best of my knowledge, we don't have any sort of like trademark on the collective, which might be a good idea now that you bring that up. But the good news is once you register that name with the state, there can't really be any crossover. So nobody else is ever going to be able to say, like, we are the 501c3 in the state of Michigan called the Cunt Collective, you know?
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. That's impressive. That's so cool that you had someone with that information that they could share with you. That's very cool.
Yeah.
And
I got so lucky.
Yeah.
Jenny is my aunt.
Shout out Jenny. I think I may have spoken with her. One of your associates hit me up, just sort of. I think it was her, right? Asking like.
I thought that was Sarah.
Yeah, it was Sarah. That's right. It was Sarah.
Yeah. Sarah's amazing. She's also a podcaster.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, I'm actually. Oh, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. I'm supposed to go on her show. Oh, nice. Yeah, the neurodivergent report pod. Yeah. Shout out. Yeah. I filled out the whole thing and then I told her, but I guess that link wasn't working and she sent me another one and I forgot to fill that out. So thank you so much for reminding me. Sorry about that, Sarah. Okay. So how did you decide on the name? One, I love the name, obviously. The second I saw it, I was like, that's funny, And once I saw what it was all about, anti-fascism, pro-LGBTQ, I was like, oh, this is wonderful. A great organization. What made you want to choose that word?
So it's really great to hear that somebody replied on your Instagram and was like, oh, this puts the pussy hats to shame.
Yeah.
Because that was actually part of my point with the name.
Okay.
We saw this past craftivism movement of the like pink pussy hats.
Right.
And there's a really, really long lineage of hats in activism and especially in craftivism. So I really wanted to do hats, and I wanted to do that specific shape of hats because they're popular right now and people like them.
Sure.
But for anyone who doesn't know, the well was it was poisoned by the pussy hat because I assume that they had very good intentions, but they ended up being sort of immortalized as a symbol of like white cis like transphobic feminism. And yeah, people felt like they were very exclusionary. People felt like because the pussy hats were for like women's movements,
right,
and there were a lot of TERFs, trans radical feminists, there were a lot of feminists who didn't necessarily recognize intersectionality and stuff like that. I tend to be an optimist, so I don't believe that that was ever the intention, but it was the outcome of those hats.
Okay, yeah.
And I knew that hats felt like the way to go for my craftism that I wanted to do, but I knew that the association with pussy hats would be a big problem. So I wanted to meet it head on, and I wanted to escalate because at the time it was so, you know, shocking and interesting to have the word pussy in something, you know. And it was partially in reaction to Trump saying something about like grabbing somebody's pussy. And so I thought, let's escalate it and let's say cunt, because I think that cunt has a very interesting connotation in a lot of ways. We see a pussy as somebody who's fearful, but a cunt is somebody who's not.
True. That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I also think that the word cunt was very much popularized by queer people of color.
Yeah.
And so I felt that using it was a bit of a signpost that, like, we are not pussy hats. Like, we very much are interested in upholding intersectionality and protecting it, you know, at all costs.
Yeah.
So that's why cunt is... It was kind of like, I don't know, a serious joke,
Sure, yeah.
making fun of the whole, you know, pussy hats problem, while also communicating our position on it. And then instead of, so for anyone who has not, you know, read our name, it's actually all capitals CVNT collective is the way that it's like, that's our government name, right?
Sure.
And I chose to do it that way as a sort of layer of protection for how palatable we would be for the public. It still very clearly says cunt, but it's not going to easily get shadow banned by algorithms.
For sure.
And it's not going to, you know, get blocked from incorporation for profanity or, you know, I don't know if that's even a thing, but it seems like it could be. And I also think that personally, I think it's kind of funny that if you don't know Roman numerals, it kind of looks like Roman numerals.
Oh yeah, I guess it does. Yeah, for sure.
Like this E could be Roman numerals, but the NT like doesn't exist.
It'd be like 105.
Yeah. Well, I really just liked the plausible deniability of it, and that it doesn't take itself too seriously, I guess.
Yeah, no, I love that. Again, a very punk rock attitude. With the whole, like, subverting the expectations of the name itself, you know. So that word, the word cunt, you know, in America has for a long time been considered very offensive and like taboo in use, whereas in places like Australia, England, Ireland, Scotland, you know, it's like a term of endearment almost, you know. Have you noticed, I guess I'm sure you have, that there's been a shift recently in the zeitgeist or whatever, the usage of that word. And so what do you think has cause that to be more accepting? Is it the, like, I guess it's sort of like the radicalization of the word and like the reclaiming it, but I'll let you speak to that.
To me, I think that it's partially that globalization of mixing of cultures and realizing that it's not that serious.
Right.
And I think that there's also like almost like a postmodern disillusionment with it, where people are realizing, actually, I can just say whatever I want and it really doesn't matter, you know, like sticks and stones, I guess. But I think that largely to the demographic that is comfortable with the word cunt now, I think that it is through mediums like drag.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I am very interested in and inspired by drag, as are, I'm sure, a lot of artists in similar spaces.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that drag does such an interesting subversion of gender, and interesting gender commentary, and has really embraced the word cunt with a lot of freedom. And I even think of, I think a real marker of something being relatively accepted is being featured in a Beyonce song.
Oh, I did not.
There is, I think it's the song Pure Honey.
Okay.
There's, I don't know whose voice it is, but there's a voice that says like cunty, cunt, 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 cunty, cunt in the back. And it's very ballroom drag, the sound of the song. And that's like what makes it like probably my favorite Beyonce song of all time. It's very, you know, ballroom voguing, like, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I hope I got the song right, because that's going to be embarrassing if I got the wrong one. But I do think that just that freedom that the drag community has approached the language with, in tandem with their mission, is what has brought it to a broader audience.
Interesting, yeah.
But I do think that there is still a large level of discomfort with the word, because it's been a problem for us in our collaborations where, you know, people don't want to put our full name on a poster, or even, you know, board members get nervous standing up in a meeting and asking for donations for the Cunt Collective, you know?
For sure. Yeah.
Somebody. So it is interesting. We have this little bubble where the word is almost meaningless.
Right.
But in the broader context, some people still find it very offensive.
Interesting. Have you ever, now I don't want you to, but have you ever considered like changing the name because of that, like external pressure? Yeah.
Yeah. So as the founder and chair of the nonprofit, I actually kind of tried to backtrack on the name months ago in one of our first board meetings. I was like, hey guys, well, should we change this? And everyone else said, no, this is like so cool that we're using, let's keep going. So I appreciate that the rest of the board didn't let me like lose my steel on that, you know?
For sure. No, again, I love the name, and the mission and everything it represents. Did you grow up with a punk rock background at all, or is it the activism background? 'Cause you have this attitude of like, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I want, and it's all for the sake of good. Obviously, that's not exclusive to punk rock, but, you know, that's where I'm coming from, so.
Yeah, you know, I actually think that I'm probably going to clip all the times you've said that I'm punk rock, and I'm probably going to put it on like my personal Instagram to say, hi people, I'm punk, I'm cool. Because
you fit the criteria all the way.
the sentence "Jocie Osika is so punk." Nobody, that's a combination of words nobody has ever said. And I think that actually what did it is anthropology. Stay with me.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
stay. So I shared that I'm a PhD candidate. I'm a PhD candidate in anthropology. My main thing that I study the child welfare system because I want to make people suffer less.
Right.
But I took my first anthropology class ever when I was a sophomore in high school. The thing about growing up in Idaho is that the education system is extremely unfunded. Funding for Idaho public schooling is actually ranked, I believe, 51st in the nation still, because Washington, D.C. counts.
Right.
So education is not a fiscal priority where I'm from. And therefore, when, you know, little 14-year-old Jocie, rule follower, like I would have been an amazing like child super soldier if somebody would have gotten me just before an anthropology class. I walked into that classroom and I sat down, and the teacher was the wrestling coach. And he said, "Does anybody know what anthropology is?" And nobody raised their hands.
Right.
And he said, "Me either. Let's Google it together."
Wow.
So there was no preparation that went into this course. I cannot emphasize enough what a train wreck it was.
Yeah, that's
Yet
wild.
it still completely changed my life, and it gave me this attitude that I have today, because one of the core tenets in anthropology is this idea of cultural relativism as it compares to ethnocentrism. So ethnocentrism is the act of judging one culture based off of the values of another. So if I say that culture eats with their hands and that's gross and weird, they should use cutlery because that's civilized, that would be ethnocentric.
Right.
And anthropology says that's actually not fair, because all of this stuff is completely made up culturally,
Totally.
and there's no reason why any one way of doing it is right or wrong.
Right.
Of course, we agree on, like usually killing each other isn't right. But overall, we made it all up. And that's what the idea of cultural relativism is judging each culture based off of its own ideals. And it sounds silly now, over a decade later, but my mind was blown. My mind was absolutely blown as a teenager when I realized that all of this was completely made up.
Sure.
And at the same time, I was extremely smart. I was very, very advanced. I was very lucky to be one of the students that all the teachers really pulled rank for, despite low funding, and they were able to get me where I am today. And I'm incredibly thankful for it. So I was empowered to think, okay, so there's actually no reason why any of this is right or wrong, and why I can't decide what's right or wrong for myself. And I think that's really when I started marching to my own drum, because I was already the kid that, would intervene with bullies or, whatever. And I had like my entourage of like weird kids. But that was a turning point to where it went from the feeling of you shouldn't be interpersonally rude to people to this is systemic and organizational.
Right. Well, that you make a great case for education. That's
Thank you.
That is so cool. I never thought about anthropology in that way before. So that's amazing. So did you move to Detroit because of school?
Yeah. So I was a gifted and talented kid.
Sure.
So I graduated undergrad in 3 years with 2 degrees.
Wow. Nice.
And then when I was 20, I decided to apply straight for PhD programs, not masters. I said, we're going all the way to the baby. We're skipping that.
Wow.
Because another thing about me that probably you can tell by now is I have like a bordering on delusional level of confidence.
Okay.
But I haven't let myself down yet. So
there you go. Yeah. Every artist needs that,
yeah.
For sure.
So for some, 20-year-old me was like, let's do a PhD. And I got in here.
That was impressive.
And you know what? I can see myself in Detroit. So I picked up and I moved across the country in 2020.
Nice.
And here we are, year 6 of the program, 27 years old, getting close to that.
Wow. That's truly impressive. 3 years in undergrad. How many hours a week of schooling was that? Was it like 50, 60 hours? Like, that must have been...
My life, just horrible.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, I don't think that I understood that you didn't have to take the maximum number of credits that were allowed.
Right.
Because I believe the minimum at most universities is like 12 credits a semester.
Right.
And the maximum is usually like 21.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
for some and I thought that if I was taking less than 18, I was like being lazy. Um,
And so that'd be like 6 classes at minimum, right?
yeah, I don't know. I also came in with a lot of credits,
Yeah.
AP testing as a high school,
Nice.
because when Idaho does get money for education, they don't really know what to do with it, so they'll just get free standardized testing for the smart kids to try to make the school look good. So I benefited from that. I got
That's funny.
every test.
Yeah.
So basically, I realized in my first year that if I only did one major, I was going to graduate in 2 years, and I was going to be 20 years old, done with college, with a degree in anthropology and nowhere to get a job with it. So I added the psychology degree because I was like, oh, that makes, like, I'll for sure get a job with that,
Right.
you know? And so basically what my life looked like was, I was on the track team. So I think our practices were usually at 6:45 a.m.
Wow.
And I drove this like blue 1996 Nissan pickup truck that of course broke down. So I have to wake up at like 5 a.m. and walk like a mile to practice,
Wow.
where then I was bullied.
Right.
Nobody liked me. They thought I was extremely annoying, which it, you know.
What I mean, what? Why do you think? Were they like sort of like jockey type people, or?
So, I did actually do a full research study on trying to figure out why everyone hated me.
Okay.
Um,
I'm sorry. That's very thorough.
which, you know, obviously made it so much better. You know,
Right.
everyone was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
not just to find out why we don't like you. It's your personality. Surprise!" You know. But really, what my theory was and what my research supported was that there's two different kinds of identity.
Right.
There's a very individualistic identity and there's a group-based social identity. That was kind of that sounds simplistic now to my
Oh,
27-year-old
Sure.
years, but it made a lot of sense when I was 20.
Sure.
And, you know, I had my psychology sources to back it up.
Sure.
And I got permission from the university to do this huge survey. I had 1,000 respondents
Wow.
of both athletes and non-athletes at the university, asking them questions designed to identify whether they had a stronger individual identity or a stronger social identity. And what I found was that athletes had much stronger social identities than individual identities, and non-athletes were a little bit more likely to have stronger individual identities.
Right.
As you can tell, I'm very much an individual.
Sure.
I have always been very myself. I have never had a difficult time being exactly me. And I think that was incredibly grating in a context where, even though it was an individual sport, everybody valued conformity to a degree.
For sure. And was this in Idaho or Michigan? It was not.
It didn't help that my understanding of how to form female friendships was through compliments. Because I had the same group of friends for a very long time, and, you know, we don't hesitate to say, damn, your ass looks amazing in those jeans, you know?
Right.
And so I came in very excited to make new female friends, and I said, damn, your ass looks amazing in those jeans. And then everybody thought that I was gay and also a predator. And it's Idaho.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily chill to be gay.
For sure.
It's more chill to be a predator than to be gay, you know?
Right. I'm assuming that Idaho is a very conservative place. Yeah. Even if it's right next to Oregon and Washington, right?
And I'm from North Idaho, so it's up in the Panhandle, so it's sandwiched between a more liberal area of Montana and
Oh.
a more liberal area of, well, actually, I guess it's kind of a more conservative area of Washington.
Right.
But they're in between there. The North Idahoans are very.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of Trump voters, I'd imagine. Yeah, for sure. For sure. When I lived in Oregon briefly, I was, Oregon has the reputation of being like all hippie or whatever. Then I found out that it was literally founded by white supremacists as a whites only state. There's super Trump supporters all over that place, but that's interesting. So, do you miss it at all? Are you happy that you've like broken free of that more traditional conformist sort of mindset and lifestyle?
Yeah, I am glad, because I think that when you conform with disregard for who you are, I think that you're setting yourself up for a very unhappy life.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that the authenticity that you're able to bring when you're unapologetically yourself is so much more valuable to society than conformity could ever be.
Right. Definitely. Yeah.
And so I do miss Idaho at times, but not for those reasons.
Right. Not for the cultural reasons, right? Is that
well, there are cultural aspects where I don't think that I'm a very successful Midwestern transplant. I think that I'm a little bit too West Coast
sure
for the Midwest.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah.
Okay, that's super interesting. Is that paper that you made available to read? I'd love to read that, if possible.
You know what? If you really want it, I'll send it to you.
That'd be awesome.
But you gotta. I was torn and being bullied.
No, for sure. No, I took psychology last semester and I loved it. I'm really interested in sort of what you were saying. Like, I'm sorry to go off on this tirade real quick, but I wonder what the psychological ramifications of choosing a life of conformity are in the long run. Like, if that sort of leads to like a physiological like deterioration, like if it like physically affects the brain at all, or like.
Well, what I see, and my observation, I have no scientific backing for this, but I think that if you work as a team for your whole life and that's all you've ever been, there comes a time when you're not in that team. And right. I think that something that people are not very sensitive to actually is how difficult life after sports is for people who have always been athletically gifted. Right. Because you probably are not going to be a professional. And so maybe you're one of the very few who make it to a college level. And you never learned how to be an individual. And now you're out in the world without the one thing that gave you purpose. And that is devastating for people. So I don't want that to come across as shaming to other athletes. Right. But I mean, I really can't blame people for that because that's what you're always told to be. Right. But people are not happy and they don't know what to do a lot of the time if they haven't been able to cultivate that individual personality in addition to being the good athlete, the good teammate, etc. Totally.
Yeah. No, it sounds like a recipe for depression and anxiety later on in life. That's fascinating. Okay, let's get back to the collective. We have to wrap up soon. Again, thank you so much for coming on. You're a great guest, fascinating person, and I love the work that you do. Would you please define for the audience fascism?
Yes. Okay. So generally, I would say that fascism is a way of political thinking and state organizing that naturalizes state agendas as moral rules and empirical truths. And then it demands unwavering commitment to those, those truths of the universe. And when that commitment is threatened or unsatisfactory, it meets the detractors with violence. That's my definition of fascism.
And would you say that that's what we're living in right now?
I think, yes. I think that what we are living in right now does meet that definition of fascism. However, I think that the fascism that we see today is different from a traditional fascism.
Okay.
Because I think, I actually, in preparation for this, because I knew you wanted to talk about fascism, I read the fascist doctrine, okay?
Okay. Nice.
It took a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, it took me a really long time to comb through. And what I walked away with was that the definition that I gave matches both then and now.
Okay.
However, back then, there was not this classed component to it. Where today, I think that what we are experiencing in the United States is a very neoliberal version of fascism.
Right.
Because I think that the power and the drive for power is so rooted in financial inequality. And I think that the willingness to follow the doctrine of modern fascists is also rooted in a sort of like systemic dispossession, both financially and intellectually.
Yes, totally. Interesting. So like Mussolini's considered, right, to be like the father of fascism or whatever. And so to compare him to like the whole Trump and MAGA thing, and I'm speaking generally here, but I think it's pretty obvious that it's valid. A lot of the people who support Trump are sort of anti-education, anti-intellectualism. And so my question to you would be like, was it not like that in the past where you had like super poor Italians rooting for somebody who was hoarding all the wealth and, you know, all the power the way Trump and his team are?
Yeah, so interestingly, when I was reading the fascist doctrine, I don't have my notes that I took pulled up right now, but I remember him actually emphasizing the importance of education. And I was sort of going back and forth with my boyfriend about this, because he's also extremely interested in these topics. And he took that to just be, you know, a complete misdirection and a complete lie, and a way for Mussolini to say, yeah, you need education. Education is really important as long as it's my education that teaches you that these are the facts of the universe, which is then, of course, where you insert your fascist doctrine, right? I interpreted it, again, I'm a very trusting person. I tend to take what people say at face value to a detriment. So I'm completely open to being wrong here. But I believe him when he said that he valued education. I think that it's just that education meant something a little bit different back then.
Huh. So, well, I said this before on the podcast with my friend DJ Sharon, like, shout out. This has to be the dumbest form of fascism to ever exist in the world. Like, these people are super incompetent. They're clearly not very intelligent, and they're just, yeah.
It's disappointing, like, because I was like reading it and I was like, damn, Mussolini, this is kind of beautiful.
Right.
Like,
right.
like,
Yeah, because they just sort of rely on brute force. There's no, yeah.
I want my money back. Like, if you're like, at least talk me, you know, like
exactly. Yeah. Wow.
Nice.
That, man. Okay. So what can, let's say, okay, so I'll use myself as an example here. I'm a father. I'm a single parent. The mother's not involved, blah, 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 blah. And he's autistic, which makes him even more vulnerable to the future and this administration. What, and so like I don't feel like I can go out on protests and like start burning stuff down, you know what I mean? Because not that I'm encouraging that, I'm just saying, like, I have a life that depends on me, right, outside of my own. What can a person who feels powerless the way that I do in the face of this fascism do to like help subvert it and like sort of, I don't know, yeah, I think you understand the question.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing is meeting yourself where you're at. Because if you are not realistic with your situation that you're in, you will immediately burn yourself out. And that's not helpful for anybody. So, you know, I decide I'm going to go, you know, march every weekend, and that would be very helpful. But I know myself, and I know what limits I have, and I know how that would not last for me, whether it's physically, emotionally, even just the time. So I think it's been incredibly relieving finding something that makes sense for me through crafting. And I think that art is something that has, like education, been very systematically devalued in our society. And so I think that arts of all forms, I would assume that you specialize in music. I think all of those different forms, just go where you're needed with them, right? Make this that means something to you. And I think the hardest part of that then becomes the bravery aspect. Because you do have to be smart about it, and you have to walk a line, because just because it's art doesn't make it not scary and doesn't make it not a very threatened time. But there's so many quiet, gentle ways to participate that people can make work for themselves. So I know that calling your representatives is something that you can do in silence. Well, not literal silence, but nobody even needs to know that you did that, right? You can do it from home in 5 minutes. My boyfriend is currently on a campaign of calling his representative every single day and asking him about specific things in the files and stuff like that. And he's actually already gone viral for, you know, speaking out and stuff. So I think people really underestimate what sort of impact they can have with what makes sense to them. So I'm hoping that that's the level that the collective can get to as well.
Yeah. I want to ask a question about calling the representative. Are you just leaving are you leaving a message? I've never done it. I don't know the first thing about it. Do you like leave a message and hope to hear back, or like, how does that work?
Yeah. So I think that when you call your representative, you can go into it with a sense of peace, knowing that mostly you are just putting pressure on them by being annoying.
Sure, yeah.
Because it is their responsibility to represent us as elected individuals, and they are not allowed to completely ignore you. They have to pick up your call if they're in office. You will get sort of receptionist. You won't get, you know, a congressperson directly on the phone. But they have to take your message. They have to pass it on. And they're supposed to get back to you. And if you are perseverant enough, they just might, especially if we're able to get numbers. So I think there's also a chance that you get voicemail, but they have to listen to the voicemail too, right? So I think that the mindset with calling your representative is really, again, it's a serious matter, but the act isn't that serious. Right. You know, it's being the thorn in their side and reminding them who the hell they're responsible to.
For sure. The job of that receptionist secretary must be so stressful. It's taking calls all day. That must be so much work. But okay. Yeah. Okay, I understand now. Okay, so we have to wrap up. I'll ask one final question. Well, I guess where and how can people assist the collective, and how can I get one of your hats?
Yes. So currently we need three things. We need crafters. So we have a online community of crafters. I believe we're currently around 170 strong throughout the country. But it is a Facebook group currently. We are looking for a better option, trust and believe. But currently we operate through a Facebook group called The Cunt Collective, spelled CVNT. You have to request access and answer the questions. And if you answer them in a way that shows that you align with our values as a collective, then you will be accepted. So these are the people who are volunteering their time and their skill and their yarn to make you hats. The second thing that we need is money. So we have a website where people can go to donate cash.
Okay.
I will take 50 cents. I will take a nice discontinued penny, right? Our website is cuntcollective.org, cvntcollective.org. I like the organization label instead of .com. It makes me feel very official.
Very professional, yeah.
Yes. And we do have a donation button. You can feel very comfortable donating to us because we are a registered federal and state 501c3, so this is very much not for profit. But we do need money to keep things afloat.
Sure.
And then third, the thing that I am most hopeful that this podcast-a-thon can help with is we need buyers. We have the crafters, we have people who want to make and distribute hats, we have a plan of how we're going to do it, but very, very few people outside of the crafting community know that we exist. We would like for the cunt hat to become a symbol of community and acceptance and all of the values that we've been talking about today. We want people to be able to recognize them in the community and know what that means. But to do that, we need to get the word out there. So, I would greatly appreciate if people could follow us on all of our socials and also spread the word. Send it to your friends, share our posts, like our posts, etc., etc. We have Instagram is CVNT period collective. Blue Sky is cvntcollective.bluesky.social. And then on Facebook, we also have Cunt Hats as our public-facing page. And we have a mailing list that you can sign up for on our website if you are not a social media person. Right now, we are organizing our first hat drop so that people can actually buy them. But we want to make sure that we have a little bit of attention and enthusiasm for that drop before we do it.
Sure. Okay, awesome. Very cool. Well, everybody, please support the Cunt Collective. Buy these hats. Also, the hats look really cool. I think we should stress that. They look really cool, and I want one. I could definitely see that becoming, like, it should be a thing in punk circles and stuff like that, people who are more, like, politically activist-minded. Follow the Cunt Collective. This has been Let's Ruin Our Lives. Please hit like and subscribe. Thanks for listening to the first ever podcast-on episode of Let's Ruin Our Lives. Jocie kind of nailed everything that we're all about, so I don't think I need to say much here. So thank you so much again for coming on, and everybody try not to go crazy with everything that's going on in this world. Do what you can. Okay, from my heart to yours, mahalo.
I know, but I'd rather be blind in heaven than sighted in hell.
improvise. Need to learn to learn that sure be nice. Start your own trend. Start your own trend. Start your own.
Let's ruin our lives.